I can move on to tomorrow. If I can do more today, great. If I'm super busy today, I've done 15 minutes and that's enough. So I'm glad to hear that you've been able to stay motivated and be consistent and attending the group sessions, because I think that's also really important because you have sort of the support of some other folks in the group. Can you talk a little bit about the group conversations? You mentioned that you attend the group conversations with Maribel, who's one of our coaches from Colombia. She lives in Medellin. Can you talk a little bit about your experience in the group and how that sort of helps you stay on track as well?
Yes. Well, the classes, they also go through the lessons. So I'm able to get kind of a second review of the lessons that I've already done. So that's really helpful. And, it helps with listening comprehension as well as meeting people, because you're in a group with people and by the second, third class, you all know each other's names. You all know about each other. I've had multiple conversations with different students outside of the group, the container of group lessons where we've, sometimes it's just to talk about the process in English, and often it's to practice and actually practice our conversational skills together. And sometimes I'm speaking with people that are better than me and sometimes not as advanced as me, but it all evens out because we can help each other and they can help us. But I really like the group classes for the fact that I get that refresher and I get to know people in the group and we have a lot of laughs. And I know that I'm not in it alone, which is great. And, one of the things, I'm like, I don't understand everything that the teacher is saying. And I kind of came to this conclusion that it's okay. It's part of learning. I don't have to understand everything that she's saying. As long as I'm listening actively, eventually I'm going to understand everything that she's saying. So I'm just waiting for that eventually.
No, I love that mindset, that just being okay with not understanding 100%. And I think we mistake how much we actually listen to and comprehend people even in our native language, right? Because even in English, because we're so familiar with it and so comfortable, we actually omit a lot of what someone is saying because we already are guessing what they're going to say. So we don't really need to listen as intently. And I think we don't realize that just because it's second nature to us, because it is our native language. We don't even know when we're not listening, right? So active listening is really important because most people quite honestly just don't do it. We're multitasking. We're trying to do 10 other things. We're checking our Facebook news feed. We're looking at Instagram. We're watching TikTok videos. We're driving, we're talking to a friend, we're trying to do too much. And I think that one of the downfall of having so many apps and resources available for Spanish, one is great because there are so many resources, but the downfall of it is that people feel like that they can just multitask their way through, right? Oh, I'll just pull up this app and I'll just do Duolingo, or I'll do, I don't want to just point out Duolingo, but it's just the most popular one. But any other app, right? It's people kind of think that they can just sort of halfway do it. But that active listening part is a big part of, or a big component of improving listening comprehension. It's something we do talk about a lot. Because a lot of people say, I don't understand what people are saying. It's but you actually have to listen and not give up, right? A lot of people give up when the first word they don't understand and they get discouraged. But that's why I love what you said, just kind of hanging in there and being okay with the fact that, you will miss a few things, but eventually if you kind of stay at it and you stay paying attention, then you will start to understand and ask questions, right? Ask questions, like you said, when you don't understand something, because that's what helps you learn, right? Someone will slow down a little bit when you're in a class. So that way, when you're in the real world, you can just have those conversations and not feel as intimidated. So I like that you've been having a good experience in the group class. Can you talk a little bit about what was your approach to learning Spanish before you joined Spanish Con Salsa? I know you mentioned you did a lot of traveling back and forth for about 10 years or so. And I mention this because a lot of people think that travel is the way to get fluent, right? I'll just go somewhere for 3 months and I will be fluent in Spanish if I just stay in Colombia for 3 months. Can you talk a little bit about sort of what you were doing before and kind of how that shifted after you joined?
Well, I do have to say the Spanish that I did use while traveling I know very well. Like, it's so ingrained in me, which I appreciate. But I was not able to get fluent or even close to fluent traveling. I even did a 3-month immersion at one point, and I did not come out fluent or even close. And I know people say immersion is the key, and I think it is, maybe for a longer period than 3 months. I learned a lot on paper, but that's very different than speaking and listening. So in some ways, I do know a lot of Spanish, but until it comes out of my mouth or until I like hear it and can like viscerally understand it, it's just reading and writing skills, right? That was really frustrating, and it gave me a foundation, but it didn't really take me to where I want to go. I think in a way, sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent, but in a way, this is an immersion because it's part of your life. You're listening to songs. Like, I have a playlist with all the songs that I've learned so far, and I listen to them regularly in my playlist. So that's like one way that I'm like getting that repetition. And like I said, the classes and the group classes and the private classes, and also Quizlet, which a lot of the lessons, if you're new and you haven't joined, you know, the insertion of Quizlet into the lessons. I ended up getting my own Quizlet account. I use it and I review every day. Like, I'm about to go back and review like 6 months ago. And every time I have a Spanish class and I learn a new word, I put it in Quizlet. So I actually have like lists of like new words from class with Maribel last week, you know? And I think that's different than hearing a word once and then trying to like navigate a language with all these words coming at you. It's like you have time to kind of sit down with it. I mean, you have to like plan it though, you know? It's like, I'm going to take these words, I'm going to put them in Quizlet, and I'm going to review them every day until I have them. And then I'm going to use them with my teachers. And I think that kind of is the difference, you know? It's like I could be in an immersion and have a conversation with somebody on the street, but I might not see them again. They might not know where I am in my process, where it's different. You know, I have a team of teachers that know where I am, and I can be like, hi, Elle, I learned these 5 words. Can we use them in sentences? Tell me if I have it right. So I think that's the difference, is just feedback. There's a lot of conversational feedback, not just testing feedback.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really the approach is, you know, our approach has always been conversational. And for people who are very used to like testing and like, oh, but what I know, am I like, how do I get to level B2? And, you know, I want to take an exam, you know, of course we help you learn the things you need to learn that, you know, that would qualify you for those levels. But the real test, I think, like you said, is important, is actually being able to use that Spanish in a conversation in your daily life, and creating your own immersion environment. It sounds like what you've done is